Welcome back to the plot, good lifers. It is lovely to have you along, as it usually is. I hope you liked the last video when we had a little trip around the Three Counties garden show. It was really cool. Thoroughly enjoyed it, actually. Really fun to kind of sit and chill out and do all the gardening things. So yeah, really enjoyed it. Today's video, it is coming to the end of spring here. Although it feels like spring has literally just started, but no, it's coming to the end of spring here. We're beginning to look into the summer months. There's still a lot to do on the plot, as there always is. I think there's always stuff to do on the plot here, which is good. It keeps me out of mischief, kind of. But we are coming to the end of spring, so I wanted to share with you 5 things that have actually surprised me about gardening in spring. As you all know, I'm kind of a bit of a new gardener. I've been trying it on and off for years, but this is my second year with an allotment, but my first proper year with allotment, if that makes sense. Because last year, we were getting married this time last year. So I kind of abandoned my allotment for about 8 weeks because I had a wedding dress to make and I had a load of other stuff to do, and it surprises me how much effort it took to actually plan a wedding. Yeah, I love my darling husband very much, but I have said to him I'm not marrying him again. Twice was enough. We did it legally a year or so ago, and then we did a proper hand fasting a year later, so still the best day of my life. Yeah. So last year I kind of abandoned the plot halfway through the year, and then came back to it, and it was really too late to do much with it. So although it kind of tugged along a little bit, we didn't really get as much out of it as we probably wanted to. But this year I've made a real effort to get ahead of all the planting as much as possible, get everything in, and do as much as possible to get going, really. And hopefully you can share with me some of your inspiration. I love seeing everybody else's pictures as well. So if you tag #back to the good life on Instagram, then I can have a little look, or just tag us, like literally just tag us, back.to-the-good-life on Instagram, because I'd quite like to see everyone else's gardens. It gives me inspiration. Although everybody else's allotment at the moment is giving me envy, because the guys, see the allotment just here, like this one here with the hangy things just here, yeah, that looks really good, and it's right next to mine, and it looks 100 times better, but they've done a really good job on this, so well done to them. So slight bit of allotment envy, but no, it's good, all in good faith. So I wanted to share with you 5 of the really cool things that I have actually learnt about gardening and allotment planning and all that kind of jazz, as a new gardener, as a fairly new gardener. Hopefully this can help somebody else out there. Most of you probably already know it, and you're going to be like, Nikki, why on earth are you telling us this? This is all very basic knowledge. But it wasn't to me, so there. Okay, so the first thing I have learnt about is something, and I'm rather embarrassed that I didn't think about it beforehand, is the importance of your last frost dates. I really hope we are kind of at the tail end of the cold weather now, hopefully. And the problem of me not thinking about the last frost dates, I knew that obviously frost was happening and all the rest of it, but I didn't really think much of it. I was like, it's May, it's April, it's May, it's going to warm up, it'll be fine, like, it's not a problem. And I went merrily ahead and planted a load of things out in the beds. And then my darling husband, who gets up very early in the morning, one evening we were having a chat, and he was just like, oh, you never guess what I saw this morning when I went out in the car. And I was like, oh yeah, what was that, my love? And he goes, there was frost on top of my car. And my face just dropped. It was like, no. And he was just like, yeah, it's not that exciting, it was just frost. I was like, no, that means a load of plants that I've just planted have probably not made it. And thankfully I've not lost any, but a few of them are definitely looking a bit worse for wear. My poor broad beans, I'll stick a picture of them just here. They didn't look very healthy after the frost date. So yeah, that's one of the things I have learned, is that frost can happen quite late in the year, surprisingly. So annoying, but at least we know that now, so that's good. So another thing that I have learnt, which again I had thought about, but it hadn't been something that had really been present in my mind, but this year we tried really hard to work on it, and it's made a big difference, is actually preparing your soil ready to plant into it. That sounds so simple, doesn't it? Last year I was kind of catching up, so I was making raised beds, dumping compost in, putting seeds in, and hoping for the best, and sometimes it worked and most of the time it didn't. Whereas this year, or partly last year actually, what I did in the winter was I put a big layer of compost over all of the raised beds that I'd already built, and then I covered them all up in the winter. That was really, really important, because that meant that it suppressed a lot of the weeds that were really pernicious and growing through. It hasn't solved the problem at all. I've still got a lot of weeds that I'm working on pulling up, which is so much fun. But yeah, no, it has definitely meant that we've got less weeds, and the quality of the earth that I'm planting into now, the soil that I'm planting into now, is really good. So as much as I actually want to try and keep planting throughout the year, although I know that we're leaving this allotment probably towards the winter, which is really sad, but as much as I want to try and keep things in the ground as long as possible, I think if I know there's going to be a gap that I'm going to have, then I'm definitely going to do that again, cover it up with the... I don't like using plastic in the garden, but it did work really nicely, and I'm going to recycle it, or going to reuse it, because I'm just going to carry on reusing it until I can't, and then I'm going to recycle it. But keep the beds covered up, and it just helps that soil, because it stops all those weeds coming through, which is really, really nice. And it's so far has made a good thing, although it has seemed to have made a nice warm bed for the RATs. I don't like them, so I'm not saying the word out loud, but yes, the RATs that I don't really like have definitely found their way in, which is not so much fun, but they seem to have disappeared off once I've started planting things in, and thankfully I've not actually had to see them, which is, I'm very, very thankful about that, because they freak me out. I hate them. So another thing I've been actually quite excited about this year, this is a good thing that I've learned so far in spring, is to get out extra early flowers and things ready for the pollinators, because that's something that, as much as I've been trying to do lots of like wildflower planting and stuff, I really noticed this year how when the dandelions came out, the bees were like on them like a rocket. It was so fast, and they've really kind of benefited from having all sorts of different flowers to you know, get the nectar from, and bits and pieces like that. So I think that's something that I'm really going to work forward through. I am a bit guilty of not planting as many flowers as I probably should do. I've always kind of been a bit of the opinion of the fact that I plant food, I don't plant flowers. But there are plenty of edible flowers out there, and there are plenty of medicinal flowers out there, and there are plenty of flowers that the pollinators just like, and they're pretty to look at. So I should plant more of them. So I'm definitely gonna, like next spring or next winter, when you get ready to plant like summer bulbs and spring bulbs and things like that, I'm definitely going to make sure that I actually make more of an effort at that, because it's been lovely to see the little pollinators and bugs crawling around and flying around, all that kind of stuff. So that's a big takeaway from me, because I like watching it. So, and it makes the place look a little bit brighter. I've currently got flowers outside the house. We've got like 2 troughs, and I've put like violas and things, and over the spring, the early spring, they had daffodils and the other ones that come up, I can't remember what they're called. I'll stick a picture of them here. But yeah, they were really nice, and I really enjoyed having them out, so that's nice. And I like seeing the flowers out there. It's a bit welcoming when we come home. So more flowers and things that are going to attract pollinators. That's my plan. So number 4 is actually kind of 4 and 4.5, because I have always been a bit of a fan of square foot gardening, because square foot gardening allows me to actually physically plan things out, and I like to put charts and things. Hence my garden plan that you can see here. Love my garden plan. But no, if you can see on the garden plan actually that it's all got numbers and things, like how many you can plant out per square foot. So that actually really helps me to plan things out. So I really like square foot gardening. But what I've also learned, that wasn't one of the things actually, but square foot gardening's amazing anyway. But what I've also learned about in the spring this year is about companion planting and succession planting. So I put up on our website, you can visit that down below, a little tool to help people learn about companion planting. So I've written a blog about it, and we put a little tool of like what plants can be planted with other plants. And that's been really cool, because you can see which plants are beneficial to other plants. So like some are good for nitrogen, some fix the soil, some are high feeders, some are low feeders. So yeah, I did loads of work learning about that over the winter, and it's been really cool, because I'm now trying to like do square foot gardening but companion planting at the same time. And the 4.5 bit is succession planting as well. That's always something I've been a bit rubbish at, to be honest. I just go and plant a load of seeds and hope for the best. But what I've been doing is actually just like staggering out my planting. So hopefully, well, I'll say we're right at the kind of the beginning of summer, end of spring at the moment. But hopefully when it does start to become like time to harvest stuff, I'm actually going to have like succession stuff to harvest. So in theory, I won't have like massive gluts. I mean, I won't have massive gluts anyway, because my skills at this gardening thing are not that good, shall we say. But hopefully, if I get better skills, we'd have more guts. But then at the same score, I do get to learn to do more preserving. So there are swings and roundabouts to this. So I'm not too unhappy about having gluts. At least I wouldn't be if I'd ever had gluts. And number 5, the last thing I have learned, which is actually kind of related to what I've just been talking about with the whole companion planting and succession planting as well, is the importance to plant for quick wins and early harvests. I've been very, very excited recently because I got to have a salad that had my own radish and my own lettuce in it. And when we had the barbecue a few weeks ago, I invited my folks down for. I am here with the family. They've come to see the allotment. Hopefully they will enjoy it. I'll put the video on the end screen. You can watch that. It's great. You get to meet my mum, and you get to meet my sister, and you get to meet my dad. And they had a little tour around my allotment, which is really cool. And I got to learn something about the weeds in my pond, which is nice. So yeah, go and watch that video. It will be on the end screen, but it'll also be linked down below. It's very fun. But anyway, I got to have a salad at that barbecue that contained my own lettuce and my own radishes, which doesn't sound like a lot, but actually when you've been a bit rubbish at growing things, and when you put your heart and soul into growing things and hoping they will actually grow, is really cool. So I was so happy I got to have my own radish and my own lettuce, and yeah, they tasted amazing, but they're always going to taste amazing when it's homemade, isn't it? Or it's homegrown anyway. But yeah, so I'm really happy about that. So I think that is something that, taking throughout the seasons, is when we do more gardening, and when obviously I'm going to be gardening my new house at some point next spring, it will be definitely planning for those early harvests, because that means that we can get something in and we can feel like we've got really quick wins. So yeah, early harvests I'm really down for. And homegrown radish, by the way, is really spicy, but it's not a good spicy, not like a chili spicy, which I'm a bit of a wimp at, but yeah, really good spicy. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed the video and the little tour, there we go, around the plot. It is beginning to look really, really nice. And hopefully in a few weeks' time we can start to have some harvests coming out of this allotment, and I can do some cooking with it and some preserving with it, which I'm really excited about. And at some point I'm going to sort out that polytunnel. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but I have got the opportunity to put some new plastic on it, so like the plastic that goes over the polytunnel, and it's going to be free, which is my favourite number, really. So yeah, but thank you very much for joining me. It was lovely to have you along. I really hope that you'd enjoy the video and that you're going to like and subscribe and do all those things. I'm going to go because the sun is currently trying to blind me, which is great fun. But I will see you in the next video. Bye.